Hello, this is Alex at IES, or Cyberschool as you may know. And in this video, let's see, I've gotten a lot of requests lately for, a video on slideshows. And so I'm going to go over how to, get slideshows set up and then as well as how to get them configured for your site. So I have my little Alex Dev site here. It looks different from other videos. I'm constantly changing around the template, trying to find the correct one. But yeah, if this one looks familiar, congratulations. It might be your site, it might be your template, but let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, I'm just going to hover over my name where it says Hello Alex Avila, and I will open up the My Explorer Modern to access my galleries. Now, galleries in Cyberschool are very important. You can't have a slideshow without a gallery because galleries are kind of like the source, are kind of the source of slideshows. Essentially, every slideshow has to pull from somewhere, and so the galleries will be where slideshows pull from. So I'll just click the little plus sign there. And now I can click this gallery so that it gets this kind of boldface and this italics to it so that I know that it's selected. And I'll right click and select this create new gallery. So when I'm creating this gallery, I can call it anything I want. It doesn't really matter as long as you know what it's called and you know what's inside. So I would say be as descriptive as possible for what pictures are inside this gallery. If they're like prom pictures, you might call it like prom 2019 or something like that. Or if they're like a fall festival, you can call it fall festival. For the sake of training, I'll just put training gallery. And this option right here is very important as well. Make sure you check this off. If this is not checked off, you will not be able to set a slideshow to pull from this gallery. So I'll click Save. Now there's that training gallery, and I can go ahead and click that so that it gets bold and italics, and you'll see the upload kind of flare up whenever I do. But I'm actually going to refresh the page and open up the My Explorer Modern again. And I do that because in the event that you forget to hit that shared publicly option, the checkbox, you can always go back and select the gallery, right click, and here as an admin, I'm able to edit the gallery and just reopen that or rename that or click that option there. Also with that drop down, we can create a new gallery, so a sub gallery of this training gallery. We can delete this gallery, and we can also transfer this gallery as well. Now that was a big request that we had before, and so we've implemented this feature to accommodate for those requests, where I can click transfer gallery, and then I just have to confirm that that's what I want to do. And I can choose any of the current schools where there might be an admin. Let's just say child development. There's no data, so it just means that there's no one to receive this gallery once it's transferred. But that's perfectly fine. We don't have to talk about transferring galleries. So I'll click Training Gallery again, and I'll click the Upload option. And you can just drag and drop photos in here or click to select. Before I do that though, before you should upload your files, what you want to do is click on the slideshow settings here. And this is just general settings for the slideshow. We'll discuss this first before we actually upload images. There's just one thing I want to get to first, but we might as well just discuss everything first. So the enabled checkbox, pretty self-explanatory. If that's unchecked, your slideshow will be removed. You can always enable it again, so don't worry if you accidentally check that off. This title here just pertains to what these settings are called. Nobody's going to see this title but you. The layout is currently set to default or video. So in newer templates, we do support video in your slideshow, and it's one or the other. You can either have a video or you can have an actual slideshow with images. If you are gonna do a video, please let us know so that we can actually accommodate for that. It's a very complicated procedure to get videos working in Cyberschool or in your slideshow in particular. It involves, you sending the video over to us converting it to the proper format, and then us compressing it so that your site still retains its responsiveness. But again, if you want to have a video on your slideshow, let us know, please. So I'll just keep it at default so that we can put some images in there. Next is the number of images to show. This is just how many images are going to be pulled from that gallery, either at random or the newest first or the priorities. Um, so that goes up to 25. You can place as many images as you'd like in an album or in a gallery, excuse me. However, the maximum is 25 images that will be rotated throughout this slideshow. Next is the image order, and this is what I was talking about before with how images are being pulled. Either all the newest images first, or select them by random, the oldest images first, or the priority. Don't worry too much about priority. We won't really talk about that. Next is the video URL. This is really for if you decide to have a video. You don't really need to worry about this. Once you send over that video to us and we've gone through the process of optimization and making sure everything's set correctly, we'll actually set this for you, so you don't need to worry about this. Next is slideshow settings. And this is where you configure which album or albums are being placed into this slideshow here. You'll see I have that training gallery one, and that's because I checked off the shed publicly. And this legacy header slideshow is just a default slideshow that every client is given when they create their or once their account is all set up and created. So you can select one at a time or select multiple, and then it'll choose, let's say 10 random images from these galleries or these albums. And so, well, we'll keep it at 10 random. That's fine. Next is the video fit, which again is for videos. If you'd like it to cover the entire slideshow dimensions, be contained within the slideshow dimensions, or just fill it entirely. So that, there's no real difference between fill and cover. You're free to choose whichever you'd like. I'll keep it at cover. So that's the general tab here. It's just general basic settings. Next is the styles tab. And the styles tab, we can skip a lot of these. I'll just be going over the main ones here. So we'll skip colors. Doesn't really pertain to the slideshow since there'll be images. Dimensions is very important. So these dimensions that you set here, the 750 by 750, let me actually change this. I'll say 1200 width, and then I'll say maybe just 600 height. Okay. So essentially what is happening here is this 1200 width by 600 height just means that the images that you place in here need to be 1200 by 600. This is ideal. If they are smaller than this, they'll probably be stretched to fit. If they're bigger than this, they'll probably be compressed to fit. So if you're seeing any distortion, it's probably because the images are not the correct dimensions. So just moving on, we can skip this. Background size is another important one here. This is essentially how the images are fitted into this slideshow dimensions here. This one's set to 100%, 100%, which just means 100% of the image's width will be stretched to fit 100% of the slideshow's width. And the same is true for height. Now, I would absolutely recommend going through and trying out all these different ones. Auto is you leave it up to the browser to try to fit that into your slideshow dimensions. Contain is the images will retain or will keep their own dimensions and they'll be contained within the slideshow. So if it's a perfect fit, this option should fit perfectly. If it's like 300 width smaller, you'll see some white space on the end there. That's totally fine as well. Over in cover, this is actually where the image will be stretched to cover the entire dimension there. And then unset is, again, they'll keep their image dimensions and they'll just be sitting inside sitting as they are and within the dimensions. Then we have transition effect, and this is how each image slides to the next image. So if it slides, or if it fades to the next image, if it's in a cube and it kind of transitions to the next image. Cover flow is kind of like a swooping kind of transition, and then flip again is it's like as if the whole thing. Try to imagine a panel here with a divot in the middle where it'll just flip over to the next one like a flipping page in a book. Okay, don't need to worry about animation. Background position horizontally. So there's three current options for this horizontal and this vertical here. So if you have an image, let's say the size of this screen here, and the uh, the point of the image you want to focus on is the center. It'll be placed center within this navigation here. But if you want to focus on, say, the center or the top left, it's going to be the top left. So you'll be focusing on this particular portion of the image. And the same is true for like center top. It's just centered horizontally and then top vertically. So it'll be focused on this part of the image. And so that's kind of how you can configure which part of the image is appearing in the slideshow. Okay, we can skip custom CSS, doesn't pertain. Captions is if you would like to have captions shown uh, on your images. I'll go over how to actually get captions on your images as well. This is just to enable it, and this is how you would like the caption styled. Custom is they'll actually appear on the image itself, and then bottom is they'll appear on the bottom of the image in the slideshow. Okay, then we can skip these for now. Okay, over in slideshow settings, we have things like auto slide and then the slide delay. So this is how fast it actually slides to the next image. Increase it up to 30, so it'll be kind of going through fairly quickly. And then down to 1 will be flip, and then probably wait maybe 20, 30 seconds and then flip again. So you're free to set that as you'd like as well. Okay, and that's about the end of it. So the point I wanted to make, the reason why I actually went over everything, is the slideshow dimensions. Now, before you actually upload your images, you want to make sure your images are in this dimensions. So I'll pull up my file explorer and I'll bring that into the window. And I'll just take this image here. And this is one of the images I intend to place onto into that album. So I'll just click open. And you can use any type of photo editor really. Paint works just as well as anything else. And so let me bring that over now. And so this is again one of the images I intend to use. So I'll just click resize, pixels. I'll remove this maintain aspect ratio so that I can place these however I'd like. And I'll just say 1200 because it was, I believe, 1200 by 600. Yes. Okay, click OK. So it looks distorted here, and that's kind of how it'll most likely look within the slideshow as well. So I'll just click save there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is going to open up the My Explorer Modern. In that training gallery, I'll click to upload this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, so I'll open those up. Okay, so I just have those. I'm missing one. Let me refresh. Hmm. There it is. Okay, so now under slideshow settings, I'll choose that training gallery. Okay, so now it's fitting directly into that slideshow there. It is showing some distortion. Let me go back. It is showing some distortion. That's because the image itself, the initial image before I had resized it was 600 by 600, and you're seeing that distortion because try to imagine it as this slideshow dimensions is a rectangle. Now I took that square image, 600 by 600 is a square, even sides all around, and I increased the width of it so that it became a rectangle. Now, obviously, that's going to cause some distortion because you're trying to fit a square into a rectangle. It's going to stretch on the sides there. So that's why we're seeing that distortion here. Um, and if you have any issues with um, some seeing some distortion, you also want to make sure that the images you're uploading are rectangles, not necessarily squares, that they initially have the dimensions of a rectangle. That is, the width is larger than the height. Okay, so let's look at the other images I uploaded. So this one's coming in sideways. Obviously, that's not how it's supposed to look, which is perfectly fine. What I can do there is I'll just open that up in Paint again. Open that up in Paint again. And it's rather large, which is fine. So I can resize that again. Pixels, maintain aspect ratio. Now this is going to be a problem as well because this image is a portrait-oriented image, which means the height is larger than the width, um, which just means it's going to come in distorted like this as well. So what I can do is I'll rotate it 90, and I will save it, and then I'll rotate it left and save it this way. This just saves it as a landscape and right side up as well. So now I'll go back to that My Explorer Modern, locate that image, it's this one here. I will delete that one and then upload that newly saved one. It's right here. Okay, so now that's appearing that way, right side up, and there it is. So sometimes it does require some saving inside a photo editor. You may have it stored in your local machine, right side up, and then you upload it, turned sideways. That's just the way Cyberschool kind of configures its uploads. It'll check to make sure, naturally an image with a larger height than width is going to be portrait oriented, and so that's how Cyberschool takes it. Okay, so that's good. That's good there. That one's again showing some distortion. So let's go ahead and see the dimensions of this one here. It's this 123 underscore 1001. I will right click, click on properties, go to details, and you'll see the dimensions of this are 756 by 1008. So that's landscape. So let's go ahead and actually it's a larger height, so that's portrait. So let's go ahead and open that up in Paint again. So we want 1200 by 600. Click OK. We're seeing this distortion as well, but I will just save this, exit out, and just go re-upload that again. Let's delete this one here, upload that there. Okay, then I'll refresh. All right. So it's still looking the same, which is perfectly fine. If you recall, the dimensions were relatively the same, so you won't notice any distinct difference between those two. But let's say I want to kind of change this. Let's say change it from 100% to contain, because now all the images should have the same dimensions as the slideshow. So contain, I meant cover. Contain is taking the actual dimensions of these and placing them in here. So you'll see the white space, like I was referring to before, contain will take or keep the regular dimensions of the images. So even though I did change them to 1200 by 600 for most of these images, uh, there is a little bit of overlay here. So it's not exactly 1200. This is like the padding of it. I think we can actually change the padding Not buttons. Okay, I don't see anything for padding. It might be custom set in or hard coded, which is perfectly fine. Why is this 750? This should be 1200 by 600. Okay, so that was 1250. Okay, so let's change that back to something else. Instead of contain, let's say cover, and let's give it a different slide. Let's say cover flow, and then save. Okay, so now this is cover, so it's trying, the browser is actually pressing this entire image to kind of cover the entire dimensions. So you'll see some chopping here up at the top, which is perfectly fine. We can actually increase the height without affecting it too much. So we can increase the height. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit more there. Okay, if you absolutely have to, I would say you can go into the My Explorer Modern, go into the images, and you can actually crop some of the images as well. I wouldn't recommend it as this cropper is a little buggy and it's not as reliable as say a Photoshop cropper or anything like that. Um, but if you absolutely have to, go ahead and crop the images. Let's try um, auto. Let's leave it up to the browser. Okay, so this is auto. Kind of leaves it up to the browser. Yep, so you're seeing some obvious distortion here, some blurriness, low resolution, because this image is obscenely large. Let's go ahead and take a look. Documents, properties, details. Yes, this one is 4,000 width by 3,000 height. Which is absolutely insane, insanely large, much larger than our slideshow dimensions call for. So it's you're seeing this because it's trying to essentially fit this inside this tiny, tiny, tiny slideshow dimension. So imagine 1,200 of these 4,032 is taken, and then 600 by 600 of this 3,024 is taken from the. Let me get that back again. From the center portion of the image. Okay, so that's kind of how slideshows work. Let me go ahead and show you captions before I let you go. So let's take this one here, and you can select and right-click an image inside the gallery as well, and choose the cropping option from here, where you can rename it or overwrite it and create a new file, etc. Choosing this edit option will open up the gallery name, the description. You can give this a link title if you'd like if you would like your users to be able to click on this image and be taken somewhere by placing in a link URL here as well. So this is for more info, click here and then the destination where they'll be going. But I think the caption is actually in the description. So I'll say Haku and Crow because that's their names. And they were about, let's see, they're about 5 months now. So I would say 3 months old whenever we took this photo. Okay, so I'll refresh, and I don't think I enabled captions. No, I did not. Let me go into styles, and then let's go down to captions and show captions. I'll keep it as custom, and I'll keep this all the same. This is really just for, and when it's set to custom, you're able to configure where this is placed. So you can say 22% off the top, which would be about here, 22% off the bottom, or if it's bottom set, 22% from the bottom would actually be about here. So this is the general location it should be placed. Let's see. Oh, 22% from the bottom here. Okay, so same general horizontal or vertical, not necessarily the horizontal. So yeah, you'll see Hako and Crow 3 months old. And to reiterate again, that is over in the gallery. Let's say this one here is Crow. So I'll right click and say edit, and I'll give it a description. Crow, I'll say being nosy. He's not really uh, he's not really camera shy, but he'll really get into the camera. So let's go ahead. Hako and Crow 3 months old. Crow being nosy, and his big nose there. So again, you can go back into here, and over in captions, we'll just say on the bottom, and click save. And we'll just go through these again. So now you'll see it's placed at the bottom. That's actually where most clients prefer it be at, because it's just on the bottom there, and you're able to kind of just see it a little better. You can see the full image without the obstruction of the captions there. So that's another option that, available to you. Okay, so that's just about everything with slideshows. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us directly and we can help you out through them. In regards to like cropping your images or if your images just aren't fitting, um, suffice it to say, it's out of our hands, unfortunately. If you just follow the steps that I've given you, following the dimensions of the slideshow and, going into Paint and actually changing around the dimensions, it should fit perfectly inside. I took these images that were obscenely large and I placed them inside the slideshow. And granted, they are a little blurry. They weren't the right images to begin with. Again, you'll want to make sure that it is uh, a larger width than a height than a larger width than a height. And so, don't try to fit a square inside a rectangle. You're gonna see some distortion. But yeah, as always, have a great day.